For a deeper dive, I'd like to welcome in economist at the American Institute for Economic Research, David Hebert. David, great to see you. Thank you for your time today. I want to start with something that's being reported. This conservative think tank that claims the president's tariff formula used the wrong value in its calculations, actually making them about 4 times higher than they should have been. What is your reaction to that claim?
So it's really interesting to see how these tariff rates were actually calculated. And look, a lot of people are going to carp about the particular numbers, the fancy looking equation that the Trade Administration put out. And so there's a lot to debate there. But I think the real issue is whether or not we're using these tariffs, whether or not we're contributing to or reducing the uncertainty that markets are pricing into their valuations. And so what I'm really looking to see from out of President Trump isn't clarity around the particular numbers, just any semblance of a plan that gets us to a point where we know what's going to happen, where businesses can actually formulate long-term plans, can make those strategic investments that they need to make in light of whatever the regime is going to be, and get American workers back to work. This is absolute lunacy, and the president needs to pick a plan, communicate it to his advisors, and have them communicate it and get on the same page. We need to see stability, not chaos.
All right. So, David, we're looking at the stock market today. We just heard from Alicia there on Wall Street. Some stocks appearing to rebound today. For a while, everything was in the green. Now we can see right now the Dow still in the green, but the NASDAQ, S&P 500 are back in red territory. At what point, David, will the bounce back be enough to start to offset all of the money that so many Americans at this point have lost in just a matter of days?
So look, as long as President Trump continues on this tariff plan, and I want to be very clear, I'm not just being critical of President Trump. He does a lot of very good things like deregulation, lowering taxes, returning the primacy of the 10th Amendment. These are all great things. But on this tariff front, he is exactly wrong. So until he decides to stop with this tariff threat, to stop rescinding and implementing and then saying he'll negotiate and then saying he won't negotiate, we are not going to see the value of the stock market rise back to where it was to offset these losses. And this is a tremendous disservice to the American people.
All right, so we've been talking about the Senate Finance Committee today, grilling the U.S. Trade Rep Jamieson Greer on these tariffs. We're hearing it from Democrats and Republicans. Senator Maggie Hassan from New Hampshire asking Greer if the administration has any plan to reverse course if the tariffs cause detrimental impacts to the stock market, which we are seeing. Let's listen to that.
Would the administration reverse course if the president's tariffs caused a 50% stock market crash, which would hurt Americans' retirement savings even more than they've been hurt in the last 10 days or so?
Senator, the fundamentals of the economy are so strong. We had 228,000 jobs last month. We have 9,000 additional manufacturing jobs from the month before.
Your answer is even if the stock market crashes 50%, which is how much the stock market crashed in the Great Recession, you're not going to say here today that you would reverse course even if you crash the stock market and harm retirement savings as drastically as happened during the Great Recession in 2007.
Senator, your hypotheticals are not consistent with the history we have seen with the use of tariffs.
My hypotheticals are based on the fact that a lot of Americans are looking at their 401ks today and wondering how much of a lifestyle change they are going to have, or whether they're going to be able to retire when they plan to, because of the recklessness and haphazard nature of the Trump administration's imposition of tariffs.
All right, David. So Senator Hassan, they are saying that Americans right now are being forced to face a reality that they may not be able to retire or live as they had planned and saved for. So my question to you, as an economist, are these losses truly so impactful that it could actually prevent some people from retiring?
So there is scope for that to happen. Now, look, it's important to note that the BLS report that came out just last week is a lagging report. It is reporting on what happened 1 month ago. 1 month ago was about the time that President Trump started implementing, then delaying, then rescinding, and then implementing again tariffs. And so the fact that we saw tremendous job growth last month isn't all that surprising. we're going to have to look and see at what happens in this month's report, which won't be out for another 3.5 weeks, and all the subsequent months' reports as well. Personally, I can tell you that my own mother was looking to retire this year, but after seeing her 401k all but disappear, she's now really considering staying in the workforce for another year.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your screen. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.